Hello, my name is Amy Gaffney, and I'm going to be speaking today about the 7 vectors of student development, as well as some significant demonstrations of these concepts in popular culture. Chickering and Ricer's 7 vectors of development are a developmental philosophy of conceptual lenses about the challenges that college students face and their overall experiences. The full discussion of these concepts are presented in the 1993 work, Education and Identity. The 7 vectors that Chickering and Ricer introduce are developing competence, managing emotions, moving through autonomy towards interdependence, developing mature interpersonal relationships, establishing identity, developing purpose, and lastly, developing integrity. Students may face any number of these factors during their years in college. Positive development as a whole would suggest that student navigates through each of these vectors during their college career. For examples of how a student might develop in accordance to these vectors, we can look to popular culture. There are countless movies that focus on the college years and the experiences that impact students during this time. 3 significant movies that demonstrate this are Rudy, Pitch Perfect, and Legally Blonde. The main character in each of these films develops significantly over their time in college, and each character's experience provides a solid understanding of at least one of Chickering and Ricer's vectors of development. The first character to be introduced is Rudy Ruettiger of the film Rudy. Rudy is a Notre Dame football player who experiences development through Vector 1, developing competency. There are 3 components that make up this vector. They are physical competency, intellectual competency, and interpersonal competency. Specifically for Rudy, physical competence was the focus of his journey. Our society is one that glorifies winning. Oftentimes, particularly with males, physical ability and athletic performance are viewed as superior characteristics to intelligence and academic performance. A person's sense of self-confidence in regards to physical ability is impacted heavily by public acclamation. If fans can see that the physical ability of a player is superior, they respond with praise, causing the player's confidence and self-image to soar. The ability to watch an athlete perform successfully is tangible evidence of physical competence and progression. The sense of self-confidence that results is subjective. How a student feels about their own accomplishments on the field has a direct impact on their overall development. Pearson's work, The Hero Within, stresses the importance of sport in our society, but also suggests that there can be true value in athletics if the goal isn't necessarily to slay the dragon per se, but rather to participate, engage in, and learn from the activity. For Rudy, his dream is to play football at Notre Dame. After working hard to attain the grade point average necessary, and after multiple application attempts, Rudy is accepted and admitted to Notre Dame during his final semester of eligibility. Rudy lacks the physical stature and the talent that would be necessary to be successful in collegiate football, but his dream of being a part of the team results in an incredibly strong determination. Rudy joins the football team as a walk-on after convincing the coach to let him be a part of his practice squad. He attends every single practice and gets physically crushed during nearly every single play. He suffers many injuries but doesn't get discouraged and always continues to return. His strong drive is admired by his coaches, teammates, and friends. Still, unless he's able to dress for a game, Rudy doesn't feel accomplished because his family can't actually see that he's a part of the team. His teammates step up and take a stand, each forfeiting their place on the roster so that Rudy can have a spot on the game squad. Their coach gives in and lets Rudy dress for the final game of the season. Rudy never actually expected to play in this game. He only wanted to stand on the sidelines in a Notre Dame uniform. Rudy's teammates once again, though, fight for him. They attempt to encourage that Rudy be let into the game by chanting his name, and soon the entire stadium joins in. Rudy enters the game with adrenaline and purpose. He sacks the quarterback, is carried off of the field, and is officially entered into the historical roster of Notre Dame football players. Page 67 of Education and Identity quotes, "By learning to trust their abilities, to do their best, to strive for goals, to play by the rules, and to respect their opponents, students can transform any contest into a measure of internal development." Rudy's accomplishments not only involved him progressing on a physical level by becoming a football player and growing physically stronger, but he also chased a dream, believed in his abilities, and fruitfully impacted the lives of his family, his teammates, coaches, and fans. Rudy's journey to the field is the epitome of the development of physical competence. The second character to be introduced is Becca from Pitch Perfect. Becca is a first-year student at Barden University who experiences Vector 4, developing mature interpersonal relationships. There are two components that make up this vector. The first is tolerance and appreciation of differences, and the second is the capacity for intimacy. Becca does not struggle with tolerance and appreciation. She's very open-minded and comfortable with diversity from the beginning, so the primary focus of Becca's development will be on the capacity for intimacy. Developing intimacy means becoming more open and trusting with others, which creates vulnerability. When one allows themselves to let their guard down, they're able to connect with others on a much deeper level. Peers are no longer acquaintances, they become intimate friends and lovers, and the quality of their relationship becomes more meaningful. Movement along this vector results in healthy relationships. Students usually become more selective and rid themselves of negative influences, focusing their energy on positive connections that provide support and enjoyment and that encourage personal growth. Becca's movement along the fourth vector occurs during her very first year of college. She doesn't want to attend college or meet peers because she already knows what she wants to do with her life before she even arrives there. Her dreams are to produce music in LA, and she hopes to move there as soon as possible to begin her career. Becca does not attempt to make friends. She sits in the quad with her headphones on as others around her are engaging in activities together. She goes to the activities fair but only signs up for a job at the campus radio station. She doesn't have any interest in branching out or exploring other opportunities. Becca's father presents her with an offer to help her achieve her goals if she joins a club and at least attempts to make friends. He encourages her to put an effort into taking advantage of her time in college. Becca joins the Bellas a cappella club, but has difficulty allowing herself to become too close with the other members. She also meets a boy named Jesse who has an interest in her, but she remains reserved with him as well. She eventually admits that she has a tendency to push others away and that she's never truly had friends, especially girlfriends. Over time, Becca not only begins to open herself up to other members in the group, she learns to respect them, appreciate them for their unique qualities, and truly enjoys being a member of the Bellas. She's able to admit when she's made a mistake, asks for empathy and forgiveness, and expresses her appreciation for her newfound friendships. Her ability to work well with others and see them as equals grows immensely over the course of her first year in college. She also lets her guard down with Jesse and opens up to him as well. She begins an intimate personal relationship with him. Becca's interpersonal growth has a direct impact on her success. The Bellas win an important competition, and she eventually sees the value in remaining in college. The end of the movie foreshadows her decision to stay at Barden University with her friends and continue to participate in the Bellas. Becca's interpersonal development is entirely evident in her selective decision to surround herself with positive influences and relationships that are both enjoyable and supportive. She becomes compassionate, communicative, and mature because of these relationships. Our final character to introduce is Elle Woods from the film Legally Blonde. Elle is a first-year law student at Harvard, and her story focuses mostly on her movement through Vector 3, moving through autonomy towards interdependence. There are three components that make up this vector. The first is emotional independence, which is the freedom from the continual need for acceptance, reassurance, or affection from others. The second is instrumental independence, the ability to carry on activities and solve problems in a self-directed manner. And the third is interdependence, which is an awareness of one's place in and commitments to the welfare of the larger community. Gaining emotional independence means freeing oneself from the obsessive desire to have an external hero or rescuer, and from the dependency on someone else to be the source of one's happiness. Less reliance on outside factors will allow a student to think more independently and therefore develop the self-sufficiency to gather their own information, complete tasks, and achieve goals by themselves. As students begin to mature and develop autonomy, they are able to establish their identity and sense of self, recognize their purpose, and cultivate important connections with others. We begin with Elle's senior undergraduate year. Her future plans are simply to get married to her longtime boyfriend, Warner. Her primary sense of identity stems from her relationship with him. When Warner breaks up with her before leaving for law school, Elle is broken and doesn't know what to do. After shutting the world out for weeks, she decides that she will try to win Warner back, again stressing the fact that her identity lies entirely in her romantic relationship. She applies to Harvard Law School so that she can become the type of woman that she thinks Warner wants to be with: serious, career-driven, and intelligent. Elle arrives at law school and has trouble making friends, something that she's never had difficulty with before because of her outgoing and friendly nature. Because she's so different, her peers don't accept her. They treat her as an inferior distraction, not allowing her to study with them, not inviting her to social gatherings, etc. Elle seems nearly ready to give up and go home. If she's not accepted and popular, she doesn't see the sense in sticking around and pursuing a degree that is difficult and time-consuming. Elle has an epiphany of sorts while at a party one night. She suddenly discovers the desire to be successful, however, not necessarily for her own accomplishments and goals, but rather in an effort to prove her peers wrong about their opinions of her. Elle begins to work hard in her coursework. She takes school very seriously and begins to succeed in the classroom, so much so that she's offered a highly regarded and competitive internship. She begins to realize that she's capable of much more than she ever thought she was, and actually starts to enjoy law school. With a new focus in mind, Elle thrives. She wins an important court case in her first year, goes on to graduate with honors, and receives multiple job offers at prestigious law firms. Elle's transformation of self is extreme and positive. She went into law school with no true personal identity, and she leaves law school as an intelligent, independent, and professional individual. I think it's also important to note that the movement through Vector 3 for Elle has a profound impact on Vector 4. Her focus on relationships towards the end of her law school career is on positive, healthy relationships rather than on her past dependent relationship with Warner. She becomes great friends with Vivian and forms a romantic relationship with Emmett, two people that support and encourage her. All negative influences in her life are dismissed, Warner included, which allows Elle to become the best person that she can possibly be. This is undoubtedly due to the fact that she has moved through autonomy and has developed interdependence. There are countless movies in pop culture that can be analyzed as demonstrations of development in college students. Rudy, Pitch Perfect, and Legally Blonde all introduce characters that struggle in some way, shape, or form during their college years, but that nevertheless overcome their situations and develop into mature individuals. Chickering and Reiser's 7 Vectors of Development provide a foundation upon which we can understand the many complexities of one's identity and the ways in which we experience the process of maturation and development. For more information about the 7 vectors, or to view the films from this discussion, please observe these references.